Hi folks, this is Red Wemette coming to you with another Red's Bedtime Story. And I thought this time we'd talk about actually where I lived, around the neighborhood there. It was different. Well Street was changing. I bought it when it was kind of a ghetto in the sense that most of the people there they were mainly Puerto Rican slums and such, and I got it for a good price. Actually, I only paid $75,000 for one building, and I sold it for $500,000. And the other one was, I bought it on contract and I sold it. And I sold it on contract after I paid it off. And the people I sold it to were two gay guys by the name of Jost and Grok. And Robert Jost and Richard. I forgot the first names. But anyway, they were very irresponsible people. They were a gay couple, and they wanted to run the Glory Hole, which was a gay bar, and that went with it. The whole thing went with it together. But they didn't keep their payments up to date. They didn't pay the insurance on the building. They didn't have escrow. The escrow they had, they drained it. It was in a joint account between them and I. And we had kind of a battle royal over the thing. One of the things that was kind of funny was that I used to, a lot of times I'd go down to the Bird's Nest, which was Billy Kent's place. It was on the corner of Wells and Division, and that would be the southeast corner. And I think it was called the New Orleans Apartments that he had there also, or New Orleans condos. And there was a lot of gambling going on there. I mean, they had all kinds of gambling equipment. They do it on special dates. They had somebody that was involved with a church so they could get a permit to do it. Something went on where they were able to do it. But there were slot machines. There was blackjack tables or poker tables. They just ran wild open. But anyway, down there, that's where I met Tom Selleck and Larry Manetti. Billy Kent actually owned it. But it was a unusual place to hang out. Frank I met a few times there. When he was down there, we just said hi and conversed with each other, whatever. But Melito was there too. He used to stop in. He owned Orso's and some other things, as you know, the gas station, the standard gas station. But it was a unique place, and the whole area was unique. And eventually, across the street from me was Dr. Scholl's foot pads, or Dr. Scholl's company that made all the Dr. Scholl's foot products. They moved to Tennessee, and after they did, they put in loft apartments, and in the downstairs they put in Crate and Barrel as an anchor, and several other nice places. The neighborhood actually grew, and there was a neighborhood association. But anyway, let's get away from that for a second. There was the Bijou Theater, which was a couple doors away from me. I had the Over 21 right next to me. These places were constantly getting robbed. I mean, constantly. At that time, I did not live down on Well Street. I lived on Richmond, 4121 North Richmond. It's by Irving Park in California, out in that area, 17th District. But when I moved, anyway, let's stay with this one. So what had happened was I got a phone call from the store. And I was talking to the guy, my clerk, and this is at Chicago's Old Town Video. And the guy was talking to me, very normal. And then all of a sudden, he said to me, sir, I could hear in the background, he wasn't talking to me. He said, sir, he said, you can't come up here. I had a raised platform, you know, so they're above people, and showcases were eye level to the people. And he said, sir, you can't come up here. And then he said, sir, and all of a sudden the phone went dead. And I didn't know what to do. I I mean, it was kind of like panic. So I called the police department, 911, and I told them there was a robbery in progress and gave them the address. And they kind of gave me the runaround and said, you're not at that location, how do you know? And I just hung up the phone, let it go. And I grabbed, I think I had a Browning Bobcat, a couple Smith & Wessons, and other assorted pistols, and threw them together, jumped in the car, ran down there in the car, and when I got there were police hanging around. And they were all reading magazines, pornography magazines. They're all just hanging around, like 8, 10, 15 of them. And there was a sergeant there, and when I came through the door, I pulled in the driveway, which, you know, it was mine, it was private property. But when I pulled in, I jumped out of the car and went inside, and these guys are just doing nothing. I mean, they're not doing anything. So I was angry, and I hollered at everybody, and I said, that worked for me, that was there, and I started passing out pistols to everybody that was there. And I said, the next time somebody comes in here, shoot them good. I mean, I don't want to get robbed again. And as a result, this sergeant that was standing there said, you can't do that. And I said, I sure can. It's on my own property, number one. And these people are acting as agents of mine because they work for me. And as long as it's on my property, takes place on my property, that's it. And he was kind of upset over it. But if you think that made him upset, it even got worse because I got fired up. And I screamed back, this is the way it is. Any one of you guys in here that catches this guy that robbed me, I'll give you $100 for every bullet you put in him. Well, the place evacuated like you can't imagine. They did catch the guy, and he was out on parole from armed robbery, and they brought him back to me. They didn't shoot him, but they brought him in the back, in between the Italian beef stand and between my store. There was a little, cove in there, and they said, have at it, Red. You want to work him over, do whatever you want to do. And they were just very accommodating. On the other hand, that's one story, part of it. On the other hand, the people that bought that building had a swimming pool put in the backyard, above ground pool. And they used to, it was a gay bar. They would go out there and they would run around naked, and sometimes they would engage in sexual activity. And I had family over for some holiday, I think it was Thanksgiving, and they had a big party in the backyard, and it was noisy, and as you looked out my dining room window, you could see these people fornicating and engaged in all types of sexual activity. And I closed the blinds kind of, but I went to talk to them about it, and they were behind their payments, like I said. So when I went to talk to them about it, they were just always intoxicated. They were drunk all the time. And I told them this has got to stop, and they said, you can't tell us what to do, da, da, da. We got a lawyer, and we're going to take care of you. And I said, no, I'm going to foreclose on you, that's it. I'm not putting up with this anymore. And I had built a brick wall, not a brick wall, but a concrete block wall in between. And I went out there, and there was a steel door that I put in there, a fireproof door. And I took it down. The wall was 10 foot high. And I took the door off. And so they put some kind of barricade on it. They called the police. And they said, we can't do anything about it. It's on his property. It's on his side, not yours. And they put up some kind of fence to block the hole so people could walk in and out, and it would be more exposed. I got angry and called for a sledgehammer, and told somebody, I said, go get me a sledgehammer. And I started beating these blocks, and I knocked a hole in that wall that you could drive a car through, but it was my wall. And Frank came into town, Frank Schweihs, and when he saw the hole in the wall, he looked at me, he rang the doorbell, came upstairs, and he looked at me and he started laughing. He said, what'd you do, lose your temper? And I said, yeah, and I told him about it. He just laughed, he thought it was so funny. at what I had done. But there's a lot of, as a result of that, they never did repair it. I repaired it myself after I repossessed the building and then sold it again the second time. The second time I sold it, I got more than $500,000 for it. So it left me, I made out on the deal. Plus what I made, from my businesses, which were, I was running 5 businesses at one time at that time. At any rate, that's kind of the story, and or 2 stories or 3 stories put together, I don't know how many, but they were fast times, they were fast days, everything was moving fast. I had all kinds of dealings with people calling me in the middle of the night, like Johnny Rogers. He would call me and say, I just heisted a truckload of Continental coffee, but I don't know how to drive a semi. Can you drive a semi? And he wanted me to go down and pick up the semi, and then they took that coffee from that place and just ran it all around to the restaurants that were mob controlled, or they had something to do with the mob. And it was Continental Coffee's truck, but it was empty, and when they found it, they found it. I never did drive it. I never did anything. I called it in the F.B.I. But these are some of my stories. I'm trying to cram them together all in one on this St. Patrick's Day. And I hope you had a good St. Patrick's Day. I did. It's another holiday. And at that time I was a great supporter of the IRA in the 70s. I don't know why it ever came into the picture, but it did. At any rate, as you know, I wrote a book. It's called Nobody Cares and What I Did About It. You can get an autographed copy at redwemette.com, redwemette.com, or you can buy it at amazon.com on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime, or you can order it at CreateSpace, all for the same price. The only difference is if you order it directly from redwemette.com, you get an autographed edition. So I hope you enjoyed the story tonight, or these stories, and God bless you. And I hope you had a great St. Patrick's Day too. God bless.